Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every day I cover cutting-edge AI news and talk with the leaders behind it, breaking down what it means for your life and business. Have you guys subscribed to AIChatDaily.com yet? I have a newsletter that I send out every single day, and it's essentially all of the same content, all of the same stories that I talk about in the podcast, but I do them in these really easy to break down formats, and I also have links to articles to go more in depth. So it's kind of like show notes for the podcast, but it goes into way more depth, and we have extra stories that we can't get around to covering in the podcast. So if every single day you want to start the day out or end the day by getting a roundup of the latest in AI news in a really easy to scan format, go to AIChatDaily.com. There's a big subscribe button in the top corner, or I'll probably leave a link in the show notes to the newsletter. And it also is just a full news site with tons of articles. I'll probably publish about 10 of them every single day. So if you want to go check that out, AIChatDaily.com. Okay, OpenAI is shipping GPT Live 1. So this is a full duplex voice model. And what duplex voice model means, well, this is actually kind of crazy because Miriam Murati, who is formerly at OpenAI, she released something recently with her most recent company, Thinking Machine Labs, where essentially it looks like OpenAI has just knocked her off. So this is going to be interesting. Also, China has flagged Anthropic's Claude code. They say that this is a security risk because there's some backdoor risks with it, which I don't know. I just think anything with security risk is ironic coming from China. NVIDIA's Nemotron 3 Ultra has just hit closed model parity at a 10x lower cost, and this is from some experiments they've been doing on LangChain. I'm really excited when we're able to get the costs down on some of these models. Meta is adding a tamper-proof LED to their AI Meta glasses, and they're also getting more data collection from other parts of the glasses, so there's kind of a mixed bag with what's going on there. The OpenAI chief futurist, John Achiam, is leaving. He's been there for 9 years. He's one of the OG trust and safety people over OpenAI. But let's kick the podcast off with OpenAI's latest model, GPT Live 1. This is a voice model. It listens and it speaks at the same time, which is something that you've probably noticed a lot of these voice models have struggled with in the past. If you're talking to, what voice mode is on ChatGPT right now, which, by the way, this replaces their advanced voice mode. But if you've ever talked to it before, you talk, there's a couple seconds of latency, then it responds back to you. And they've done a lot of work to try to get that latency down as much as possible. But what's really cool about this new Live 1 model is that it's literally listening, and it's able to listen and talk at the same time, because that's how actual humans talk. When we're in a conversation, we kind of interrupt each other, we talk over each other, they're saying something, you're saying something, and I mean, the goal is not to interrupt and talk over each other, but it's just part of communication, right? Like, we don't always wait for there to be a perfect pause at the end of everything that someone says before we jump in. So that's what these models are getting really good at, which is really interesting. And what's to me really crazy about this is that Miriam Murati released a model just like this a number of months ago. I remember covering it on the podcast, and it was like the big thing from Thinking Machine Labs, and I was like, man, this is a really cool idea and concept. Well, turns out, a couple months later, anyone that releases any sort of cool new feature, a couple months later, the Frontier Labs are going to be able to clone it, reverse engineer, and put it out themselves because, they don't want to fall behind. The reason why I think this is one in particular is an important feature is because there's 3 separate things that are getting collapsed into one step. Number one, it's cutting the delay, so it's going to let your conversation be way more natural. And they're also going to be rolling this out to 150 million ChatGPT voice users. And finally, the way this works is really interesting to me. So there's something called GPT Live 1 Mini, and this is going to be for basically all of the free users. It's kind of the default. But if you're on the paid tier, if you're paying $20 a month for ChatGPT, you get the larger GPT Live 1, which is going to send some of the harder questions over to GPT 5.5 mid-conversation. So you're going to be talking in the middle of the conversation if you're saying something kind of complex, and it's going to basically get half your sentence, send it over to GPT 5.5 to try to come up with a response and send it back and put it out before you even finish your sentence, which is really crazy. It can be interrupted in the middle of a sentence. So if it's talking, you can interrupt it. It handles silences while you think. So just because, you're pausing to think about something doesn't mean it feels like it has to jump in, which is something really annoying. I feel like I can barely keep my thoughts. Like, I can barely think when I'm talking to these things because I got to talk so fast, because if I stop talking, it's going to want to jump in and start talking to me. So I really appreciate that. And it's going to show charts or images alongside whatever you're talking to it about, which, before it was just kind of this animated strobe on your screen. But now if you're talking and you're like, hey, what are the what's the weather going to be like, it's actually pulling up weather charts on the screen while it talks to you, so you get visual and audio, which is really cool. The product lead on this the product lead is Adi Aledi. He said that he held a 30 to 40 minute conversation with the model on walks, and I think the goal, and probably the reason why they're telling us this, is because they're trying to make this something or trying to explain this is really good for long running tasks. This isn't just quick commands like, hey, what's the weather like? It's like, hey, I'm trying to break down this complex business plan that I want to, create. Talk with me about this, or I'm trying to figure out what the best strategy is for XYZ. Talk to me about this. And you go and have a 40-minute conversation to learn something, to plan something, and actually get something done, which, if I'm being honest, I was kind of moving away from OpenAI and ChatGPT for a while because it didn't feel like that was their focus, and I was going to Claude. But I've been trying out a bunch of things on ChatGPT lately, mostly like whenever my token limits reach on Claude, I go back to ChatGPT. And I've been really impressed by the research it can do, where I'm like, hey, go scrape like these 5,000 things and do an analysis on these different websites or these different products, and like bring me back, help me create a list of 365 XYZ things I can do for this. Like, it goes and gets some real serious work done. So I'm really excited. I think the reason why this is particularly important beyond just humans is because we're going to have a lot of work with earbuds and wearables that OpenAI is currently working on. And so a lot of the hardware that they're making, these tools are going to be really useful for. And, when we start talking about robots, getting them and all that kind of stuff, and being able to communicate with that, this is going to be important that the communication is as smooth as possible. China is flagging Anthropic's Claude Code as a security backdoor risk, which is hilarious because China's been accused of putting backdoors into chips and hardware inside of China for many years on servers and all sorts of crazy stuff. But this in particular, I do think is probably accurate. What they've said is that Claude Code has a backdoor vulnerability that's going to leak your location and your identity data. And they're telling everyone in China to uninstall or to upgrade the version. If you have something installed between April and June, to upgrade it. The advisory is interesting because Claude Code isn't officially sold in China. So, Alibaba has banned Anthropic tools company-wide. This is also a week after Anthropic accused Alibaba of stealing their AI technology. And what was interesting to me is there's like some moments where different people inside of, I think, Exomi, they had like an AI developer conference, I think, and they were kind of publicly acknowledging that they were using Claude Code at a state-organized forum. This was back in March, even though it's, officially not available in China. So it's funny because it's like officially not available, officially not sold. Alibaba's banning it. No one's supposed to be using it. And yet China's like warning everybody like they know they're using it. Anyways, it's kind of crazy for me. What I do think is important, though, is this particular flag they have is version 2.191 to 2.19656, but we're already on 2.12 for the version that we're currently on. So if you're on the latest Anthropic thing, this isn't really relevant to you. Most modern coding assistants, so if you look at like OpenAI and Google, they're sending what's called telemetry and crash reports back to the main servers, and anytime that something happens, I think this is what China's worried about. The crash reports, they're worried has too much information about the users in it. But China wasn't really clarifying if Claude Code was the only one doing this, why they were singled out and not like OpenAI and Google. I'm not even sure if Google's is available in China. So anyways, China's a crazy place. In a big win for open source models, NVIDIA's open source Nemotron 3 Ultra model now matches the best closed AI systems on business tasks. So not everything, but business tasks specifically, and it can do them at 1/10 of the cost. LangChain actually tuned the agent software around the model without retraining it, and they basically proved that the right engineering environment can compete with really expensive proprietary AI when it comes to doing like enterprise work. So you can get these open source models, if you fine tune them, you can get them just as good for way cheaper than something like Anthropic or OpenAI. LangChain adjusted system prompts, tool descriptions, and middleware. They did all of that to really just squeeze the top tier performance. Then they put it through the deep agent benchmark. Ambridge, Amdocs, Box, and EY are already building specialized agents on this exact stack for their platforms and their workflows. The tuned model is live on 6 hosting providers, so you can get it on Bastion, Crusoe Cloud, Deep Infra, Firework, Nebius, and Together AI, which is what I use for AI Box. So it's, pretty widely available. This is really exciting. And I believe we actually do have Nemotron over on AI Box right now, which, by the way, if you haven't tried AIbox.ai, my own startup, we have over 80 different AI models all on there. So for $8.99 a month, you get access to all of the top AI, image, audio, video, and even music models. So if you don't want to have subscriptions to all of these different things and have, logins on a ton of different platforms, you just go to one place, AIbox.ai. We even have an MCP that will tie all of those models into things like Claude. So if you want to get like image and audio and video inside of Claude, you can use our MCP, $8.99 a month. I'll leave a link in the description to that as well. Meta just added a tamper-proof LED to their AI glasses, and it disables the camera if the light is modified or destroyed. So the idea being, you want to know when someone's recording you with the Meta Ray-Bans or any of these other Meta AI smart glasses. A lot of people have been complaining about, non-consensual recording. People are recording them when they don't know or they don't consent. People are in the gym recording, whatever. And so they've added a light, which I think a lot of devices have, like a light that pops on when it's recording, so someone's recording. But theoretically, someone could go with like a pin and just kind of shatter the LED bulb or wreck it, right? So it doesn't turn on or cover it or do something. So they're making it so that you can't tamper with it. If it's broken, it won't actually record. And this is, I think a lot of people are really excited about that. But this is also happening the same week that Meta is expanding the data collection elsewhere. So they're going to be allowing their AI to train on public Instagram photos by default. And they're testing glasses that continuously collect audio and they snap photos every few seconds, which, come on, that's terrifying. But maybe like they're building a product that they think some people will like that. I really doubt that, but this particular prototype that is under testing is going to move the glasses from being an on-demand camera, right? So you're like, hey, Meta, record whatever I'm doing, and it turns on, to actually just being always on and having an always-on sensor, and it's feeding continuous audio and periodic photos to Meta's AI systems. They don't have a date launched for this. I hope there'll be a way to opt out, otherwise I don't imagine these glasses will continue to be very popular. For the Instagram thing, this is a change that'll affect about billions of photos for users. Most everyone posting is not wanting their photos to be trained, like AI to be trained on them. So that's going to be kind of crazy. OpenAI's chief futurist, Joshua Achiam, is leaving after about 9 years. He's one of the safety advocates that's been at the company the longest, since the early days. He is leaving, and he's the 5th senior safety-focused leader to leave OpenAI in the last 2 years, right? They're getting ready to go public. He actually joined as an intern back in 2017, and then he led their mission alignment team until it was disabled, or I guess disbanded. Sam Altman got rid of it back in February of this year. Then he moved into chief futurist role and was kind of studying AI harms and benefits. 5 different safety adjacent leaders have now left OpenAI since 2024, and a lot of them have started nonprofits focused on AI safety standards. The former White House AI advisor, Dean Ball, started this week as the head of strategic futures and is going to briefly overlap with Achiam before he actually leaves, and will kind of take over a lot of policy-focused research work without having a direct replacement for the chief futurist title. So if you believe you'd be perfect for that job, maybe you should send in your application to OpenAI. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. Make sure to check out AIbox.ai. Links in the description. If you have not already left a review for the show, it would mean the world to me. It helps the show out tremendously. I have some exciting interviews and content and stuff planned for the show this year. And if you would be able to leave a review, it would help me to bring you more incredible content. Over on Spotify, you have to hit the About tab. If you've listened to 3 episodes, you're eligible to leave a review. Otherwise, I won't let you. So if you have, that would be incredible. Hit the About tab, hit some stars. On Apple, it's kind of annoying to find, but you go to the podcast page and you can hit the stars and leave a comment. I read them all. I appreciate them. All right, guys, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.